Okay, welcome everyone to ARTIVISM, the power of art for social transformation. This session is being recorded, so if you do not want your image on screen, you could just turn your cameras off. Today is the final presentation for for season 7. We'll be back fall for season 8 sometime in September, around mid-September or so. Before we continue, at the end of this presentation, the recipient of the Sing for Hope sponsored ARTIVISM Award will be announced, so stay tuned. Today we have with us Michelle. 30 years, Anglisano. Michelle has informally studied both of the traditional Hindu and Buddhist meditation philosophies. She also studies and practices the modernized Buddhist practice of mindfulness. Her strong belief in healing through energy motivated her to receive her certification in Reiki. She enjoys Hatha and Vinyasa Yoga and practices Kundalini Yoga daily. Michelle is a veteran special education public school teacher of 30 years. Michelle is a published co-author of the book, Methylation Madness, Insight into the Biochemical and Personal Lives of Hypermethylaters. She has spoken to the American Naturopathic Association Medical Convention about her life's journey from almost being homebound due to her former struggles with anxiety to living a stunningly peaceful life. Michelle lives her life by incorporating positive energy, setting a daily intention of striving to improve as a person each day and to spread loving kindness. Michelle's book can be found on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think the first thing that I want to do is I just, for those of you joined, I'm curious why you're interested in my lecture. Just, you could pop on your microphones and just tell me a little bit about why this interests you, why my situation interests you. No one's shy.
I'll go.
Thanks. Hi, Melissa.
Hi. One thing I found interesting is the mixture of healing with nutrition. Because as Caroline and Argina, I do healing through art practices and creative practices. But I also have had health issues over my lifetime. And I find that most allopathic doctors are totally disconnected from the reality that our bodies actually need nutrition. Function and to heal. And so I just got my email a little bit ago. I had an open window and I'm like, oh my gosh, this one sounds interesting. I'm going to come to it. There you go.
Thank you so much. So does anyone else want to say something before I start a little bit? And feel free while I'm talking to just kind of, pop in for a second if I take a breath or whatever. And just, if you have something to incorporate, to ask me. It's a very casual. I'm a teacher. I'm a healer. So don't feel like this is a very, Anyone else? Okay.
I was just going to say, I had just recently heard a podcast with Dr. Joe Dispenza, I think.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. And he was talking about it, and I've just always felt the mind-body connection so strongly related. And when I was listening to this podcast and just hearing not only about these amazing transformations, much of which was being brought on by mindfulness and through meditation, and this awareness and very, very purposeful intention. But the fact that they are bringing scientific quantitative analysis to what lots of, well, maybe not lots of folks, but a number of folks have known and felt and believed and seen and witnessed or thought about for a long time, but they're actually able to scientifically back it now. And I think that that's just a really interesting point to be at, and it's exciting. But I'm excited to hear what you have to share with us. So thanks for speaking.
All right. Thank you, Jen. Okay. So I guess I'm going to start with, I'll start at the beginning. I come from an Italian-German family, amazing people. And I would say by the time I was around 18, I started feeling an anxiousness, an anxiety, and really didn't know what was going on. As it turns out, after talking to my parents and years of just whatever, I've, my mother always said that I was a very anxious child. I was the one where my sister's jumping off the diving board, and I'm like sitting at the edge, and I was very nervous. My parents, we call them Lewis and Clark because they've traveled the entire world. And we would go on vacation and I would have trouble sleeping in beds. I would have trouble if we went to this Native American Indian reservation where you could try on the clothes. And I was probably about 6 years old, 7 years old. And I just fought it. There's a picture of me like all pouting and stuff. And after a while, as years go by, this anxiety started getting worse and worse. So the onset of my true anxiousness came when I would say about 23, when I really, really was having a very difficult time. I was working in Manhattan, teaching at a private school, taking the train, and it was a lot of work, but it wasn't something that would, the quote unquote normal person have an issue with. So my anxiety got so bad that, like RG was saying, I was almost homebound with just severe panic disorder, severe OCD, and anxiety. I would start having very interesting thoughts in my mind. I got to the point where I actually thought that somebody was living underneath the deck of my apartment. And I was hyperventilating constantly. I would just cry out of the clear blue sky. I would have like my anger, would fly up. I'd fly off the handle and then I'd crash down and I'd burst into tears. I couldn't form thoughts. I would have just, I would just start talking and then I couldn't understand. I couldn't remember what I was saying. And my first true remembrance of an actual anxiety panic attack was when I was hanging out with a couple of my friends, and out of the clear blue sky, I started choking. I was just choking. And then I was in college, I'm going backwards a little bit. And then I was in college and I was taking this psychology class, Dr. Smith, I'll never forget him at CW Post, fabulous man. And it was a psych class, which was great. So I went to him and I said to him, it was the first time I shared anything. And I said to him, I don't know what's going on. I'm nervous all the time. My heart's racing out of my chest. I'm a nervous wreck. I can't sit still. I'm afraid of everything. And he taught a class. And at the end of it, he brought in like a meditation kind of thing, purely for me. I would find myself at times while I was in class, I would have to get up. And the amount of times in the, years that I went to CW Post, I just roamed around the campus, in between class because I couldn't sit still. So once I got to the point of going to doctors, going to therapists, I had a one social worker who was fabulous with me. She gave me all these tools to help me with my anxiety and, carry water around and take deep breaths. And, I also had a lot of physical issues. I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, spastic colon. At one point I was diagnosed with asthma. So because of the hyperventilating, which I'm kind of doing now, because you'll find out a little bit later, my adrenaline is quite high right now. So I was walking in the city working, and I'm pumping myself filled of, the adrenaline pump, and my anxiety got worse and worse and worse. And as it turns out, I found I found a doctor who's an orthomolecular biochemical nutritionist who is online. Hi, doc. And so I went to him, and trying to get to his place was, the first time I went there was pretty tumultuous, because I basically had to be, dragged in, because my anxiety level was so extreme at that point. I was just paranoid of everything. I was so scared. So, a favorite story of mine, I walk into the office, and it's in my book. Here's a picture of my book, just to going the wrong way. And I'll explain the cover in a moment. So I walk into Dr. Doolin's office, and I was having a severe panic attack, and a lovely lady who worked for Doc at the time, she came and she brought me into a room, and it was the first time, besides Dr. Smith, my professor, that I was really able to truly express something, and that somebody actually understood, where I didn't feel like I was crazy, because at that point in time I was ready to just check myself in, because I didn't know what was wrong with me. So I walk into his office, and she was talking to me, and then I walked in, and at the time, he had this big handlebar mustache, and, with the most friendly face. And he just sat and he just talked to me, and he found, out a lot of stuff about me. And as time went on, um, he basically saved my life. I have something called hypermethylation, and that is basically, my body doesn't metabolize sulfur correctly. So the chemicals in my brain, they fire. At times I don't have enough of something, of one chemical, or I have too much of another. And back then he did really large blood tests, and the blood test showed that I had a histamine level that was super high, and I had no glutamine, which is something that controls your emotion. And my adrenaline, due to sulfur and methyl groups in my body, in my brain, it was causing all this anxiety and all this panic and OCD, kind of to the point where I was just cleaning all the time. I was using, bleach, and just, if I saw a speck of something on the floor, I'd have to clean it immediately, And I always ate, a very healthy diet. My mother was very, health conscious. The only sweets we ever had in the house was ice cream, hence me being an ice creamaholic now. But, we would have fabulous, balanced. She always had a vegetable. She always had a starch, and she always had a meat or a fish. And even though I was eating healthfully, the foods I was eating were imbalancing my imbalance even more. Christmas time was a real interesting time for me, because my mother would make all these elaborate fish dishes, being the Italian that I am, you know, the 7 fishes, and she would make paella and lobster and all kinds of mussels and things that I would sell my soul to eat now. And there were times during my childhood where I would eat, you know, and then I would just hide out upstairs, hysterical crying, having just anxiousness. And due to being a hypermethylator, I'm unable to eat any methionine foods. I'm unable to eat any sulfur foods, and that is fish and soy and rice and onion and garlic and peppers and so many other things. And I can't eat histamine foods like tomatoes and breads and milks and cheeses. So Dr. Doolin found that I have some genetic issues. I don't know if any of you have heard of the MTHFR gene. That's just one of the methylation genes. It's a big one out there right now. It's kind of making headway, but a lot of people who are being treated for methylation issues are being treated with methyls, you know, and that is something that is detrimental to somebody like me who's a hypermethylator. So Dr. Doolin ended up putting me on a very, very restrictive diet, which, Doc, I think, what are we on now? 34 years, 33 years. And there's a lot of vitamins, a tremendous amount of vitamins, because also due to my methylation issue, I'm unable to take medication. 99% of the time I'm on Synthroid for a thyroid issue, which is very common for hypermethylators. And so I'm on all these different vitamins, and I eat a very restrictive diet. I eat no sulfur. I eat a tremendous amount of meat. I eat a specific type of specific vegetables, specific fruits, and all of that helps balance out my biochemistry. The supplements are kind of like extra food for me. You know, what the food doesn't have in certain chemicals, I take in vitamins. So for example, I need a lot of glutamine in my body. I'm a burnt glutamine, so I can get very, very mushy and very emotional, but I'm also kind of, I have a really powerful personality, to put it. So if I wake up one morning and I'm kind of feeling on the more emotional side, and I'm just not feeling, you know, as I would say with the other person I am, the holistic meditation coach, Reiki healer, I'm not feeling centered. I'm a little scattered and I'm a little bit more emotional. I'll take a gigantic handful of blueberries, which are high glutamine, and I'll throw those down. Plus, you know, one of my supplements is glutamine. So as time went on, when I first started Doc's program, it was like my body was detoxing, and I had to move out of my apartment. I moved back home with my parents for, I don't know, maybe a month or so, while Dr. Doolin was starting to balance out my chemistry. So it was a very, very difficult time because I wasn't able to really function the way I should, quote unquote, you know. My anxiety did not fully go away, I would say, for, I don't know, maybe a year. And one thing about me is if I decide something, it's my Aspartic side. If I decide something, that's what it is. And I was so ill that I dedicated basically my entire life to my biochemistry. For it had to be probably three years or so. I didn't cheat, quote unquote, again on Dr. Doolin's program whatsoever. I ate absolutely everything that I could on his program. And when you have anxiety and you're given something that you have to do with measurements and things, I was so gone with anxiety that my sister had to chart it out for me. I had to eat, this much this day, that much this day, in order for me to be able to focus, because my neurotransmitters in my brain were going, they were flying all over the place. So as time went on, my anxiety got less and less and less. And that was another mountain that I needed to climb. And I remember a particular phone call that I had with Dr. Doolin. I was sitting on my steps and I was talking to him, and I was saying to him, I said, I don't, something's not right. Something's just not right. Something's not right. And how do I don't know how to function. I don't have my anxiety anymore, but I don't know how to function. And he said to me that now I have to learn how to live without anxiety. So that was a feat in itself, because when you live for so many years paranoid, scared, anxious, some of my symptoms are, they were rapid heartbeat. My legs were jelly. I would shake on the inside. I'd be freezing 1 minute. I'd be cold 1 minute, warm 1 minute. My vision would get very blurred. My speech would kind of get jumbled, I guess you could say. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep well. It would take me hours, hours to fall asleep. When now I put my head on the pillow and I'm done. I'm out. So biochemical nutrition, it's a very difficult thing to be on. My boyfriend's online too. And when we go out to dinner, it's the first thing I do is when the waiter comes up to me, it's, hi, I'm going to be the pain in the ass. And I can't have anything with garlic. I can't have anything with onion. And I can't have anything with soy or fish. And they kind of look at me like, well, what are you going to eat? And after time, it was pretty embarrassing in the beginning, but after time, I've been able to modify my life, modify my food. I have hundreds of recipes that I cook daily, and you would never even know that I don't cook with garlic or onion or fish. I actually have a YouTube channel that has a ton of videos. So my anxiety, so I've grown tremendously as a chef, first of all, but I've grown tremendously as a person because of all of this turmoil with the anxiety. The worst part of it was about 11 years ago. I had a urinary tract infection, and the doctor gave me Macrobid, which is it's a methylating medication.
Methyl suppressor.
Thanks, Tara. And what it did was it blocked my already faulty methylation chemistry of not being able to detox methyls and detox sulfurs. So doc basically kind of explained it that, the sulfur from this medication was building up in my body like a brick wall, and I was unable to detox from it. So I went into acute liver failure within 5 days, and I didn't know what the heck was going on because I asked the doctor, my internist, who is no longer my internist. I said to him, actually, I said, I can't have any sulfur medication. So he's like, okay, but he kind of messed up a little bit, and I guess 3 days I was not feeling well. I was cold. I was nauseous. I had really, really bad pain in my side. I had this rash that was developing. And after 5 days, I called the doctor and I said, I can't take this medication. I was supposed to be on it for like 10 days or something. And I said, I can't take this medicine, something, so they said, okay, stop it, and blah, blah, blah. So they did some blood tests, and my liver enzymes, you have 2 liver enzymes, the AST and ALT, and they were, I think it runs between 20 and 40 or something like that, Doc. And
0 to 40.
yeah. And mine was up. One of them was up at 1,000. One of them up, it was at 900. I mean, it was like near death type stuff. And at this point, Dr. Doolin knew me for a gazillion years. So I went to
You turned
his
yellow.
office. Yeah. So I went to his, I was turning as yellow and jaundiced as can be. And I'm 5 foot tall and I weigh about 123 pounds, something like that. And I was already, I couldn't eat. I mean, I literally, I couldn't stomach anything. And I went to his office, and meanwhile, the other doctor had taken blood tests for me, and they told me all this stuff. And they're saying I had this disease and I had that disease and I had this disease. And I work out, back then too, I was lifting every day, and I was very, very, very in shape. And I said, that's impossible. I said, I'm in great shape. I was at the gym 3 days ago. And so Doc, saw me, and he looked some stuff up, and basically his words were, they're killing you with sulfur. So he immediately put me on a bit of a regime of things, and I was able to find a liver specialist, that an endocrinologist that Dr. Doolin worked with, and was fabulous because she basically put it into Doc's hands and trusted in him. And I had to do that as well. I had to decide, like, am I going to go to just a liver specialist, or am I going to go and have Doc treat me basically medicine free, and I remember that exact moment in time. I was on the phone with my parents, and my mom was saying, no, 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 doctors. And then my dad was saying, no, 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 Terry, Terry, Terry. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I went with my gut, and Dr. Doolin was my gut, because he saved my life once before from like being mentally shot. And with his severe help, and working with my liver specialist as well, I was able to be here today to talk. My biochemistry was completely obliterated when it took about a year for me to be able to walk without being physically exhausted. So I it was a really, really rough journey. At one point I turned brown. To give a little TMI, my stools were many different color. When you have a very high sulfur, it's more of a yellowish, and my urine was brown. And at one point my stool was black, with like white specks in it. And Dr. Doolin made me describe my stools like literally every time that I went. And he knew how sick I was, especially when my stool was black and white. And the entire time he was treating me, I had no idea how sick I really was, because Dr. Doolin and I have formed like a brother and a sister type relationship over the past 34 years. So, not only was he treating me as excuse me, not only was he treating me as a patient, he was treating me as like his sister. So he was exceedingly protective of me. And he basically, the last blood test that I had that was that showed that my that my ASTs, my enzymes, were going down. That's when he sat with me and he told me how sick I truly was. I don't really remember a lot of this time, but I can tell you that that time that I was so ill, this is where the piece of my other self comes in, the meditational part of me. It comes in as you always can tell who are truly people dedicated to loving kindness during a time like that. There's a guy at work. He was quite a bit older than me, and we were friendly. We worked in the same building for many years, but he, out of the blue, he found where I lived, and it was a really bad snowstorm, and out of the blue I hear shoveling outside, and he was outside shoveling for me. And I will never forget that. I had doctors, my what is it called, the my thyroid was crashing, my kidneys were crashing, and I went to Dr. Doolin, said that I need to go to my thyroid doctor to get my thyroid medication changed. And I walk in looking the way I did, and seeing, I would bring my blood tests with me. I would bring like a novel with me every time. And it was really hard to get around because I was so exhausted. Plus, and the other part is I truly understand people with disabilities, because people would stare at me if I would be able to get out one day. They would stare at me, and they just, because I was skinny. I looked like a concentration camp person, wouldn't you say, Terry? I was probably down to 100 pounds,
A
with
yellow,
hair, and
a
I was yellow.
highlighter, a
Yeah,
highlighter. You look like a
yeah,
highlighter.
yeah. And I mean, my eyes, my tongue, everything. I was yellow, and then I turned that dark brown, and I was so skinny. It was disgusting. And plus my hair was falling out. It was a train wreck. But I went to this doctor, and he changed my medication. And then sometime later, when I was getting better and my enzymes were okay, you know, doc took some bloods, and he's like, yeah, he goes, you got to get your thyroid back on track. So I went to the doctor again, and he looked at me, and he it was like, it's like he saw a ghost, because he said to me, he's like, Miss Anglisano, I honestly never thought I would see you again. I thought you were going to be dead with the way your chemistry was. And needless to say, I could go into tremendous detail about, everything with my anxiety, and all the details about my program, and how everything that happened with the liver failure, even in more detail. We don't have enough time. You'd be here for like days. So I decided that, well, Doc and I kind of decided one point that we wanted to write a book. And so it took us 3 years to write Methylation Madness. It was basically every Sunday we'd meet at his house, we'd go to the diner, we'd have breakfast, talk about what we were going to do, and then we would end up going back to the office. And I was the better typist, so I did the typing. And it was an exceedingly emotional time. There were times the two of us were just crying, all
Well,
teared
just
up.
remember before you go any further, you went and you did all of those interviews and talked to all of those people.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
You talked to
Yeah.
5 people and you went in depth across the whole board. And understanding of the goodness of wellness added to a chemistry program is what really needs to be done in medicine today.
Yeah. So we wanted to, we wrote the book, like Doc just said, because so many people are dealing with so many issues. I listed a bunch of them: irritable bowel syndrome, anxiety, spastic colon, asthma, psychoses, all these different things these people out there are dealing with, which is what I dealt with. And we were like, you know what? People don't know about methylation. So that was a big reason because to write the book so we can, really, really help people, So yes, as Dr. Doolin said, part of my book, our book, sorry, Doc, part of our book is biochemistry, where he brilliantly yet dumbs it down, chemistry and biochemistry and DNA. I mean, genetics, sorry, in some of the chapters. And then the other chapters are my story and 4 other people who I now call my sulfur sisters. We're exceedingly tight. And it was phenomenal. It was a really fabulous way to heal and to have support with what I deal with my methylation. And my sulfur sisters, they and I, the 5 of us have almost exactly the same symptoms, even though we are different people. We have different genetics. We have, different chemistries. We have so many similarities that I no joke, I can call them up and say, hey, is anyone like feeling, blah, blah, blah. Do you guys feel like, you just can't catch your breath today? Do you feel like, your heart's just racing? Do you feel like you want to, like, go and commit Harry Carry, or do you feel like you just want to cry, or do you feel like you just don't care who's around? Those are some of the symptoms. And 9 times out of 10, they will say that they have the exact same symptoms. So yeah, it is, Jen. It is nice. Jen just said it's nice that to have others to check in with. There's no question. So having that and having my book it's such an amazing thing that I can, that there are people out there that I can help, and I do that. And I'm not tooting my own horn or anything like that, but I, on Facebook and on Instagram, mostly on Facebook, I speak to so many people, and I help so many people, or I ask questions. And if I don't have the answers, I'll text Doc and say, hey, what's the answer to this? Because these people are saying, oh God, I have such bad body pain. And that was one of the other diagnoses that I was getting, was that I had fibromyalgia. That was like way in the beginning. And the problem with methylation is when your adrenaline drops, the body cramps up. And there are days where I have just body pain, like my joints, my fingers. One day my thumb will hurt, and then like next day it'll be gone. Then my knee will hurt or my hip. Plus, I do have some residual issues from the liver failure. I only have 30% hearing in my right ear, and I have 90% in my left ear. So, I and my chemistry is a lot more sensitive now too. But it's so great to be able to know this and to help other people say, well, I'm taking methyl this, or I'm taking, soy that. And I'll say, well, do you know if you're a hypermethylator? Or like my daughter, a hypomethylator, which is the polar opposite. She doesn't have enough adrenaline. I got enough adrenaline for the world. So it's really it's a really cool thing that I can help somebody, and in the end, I the way I live my life is very different from other people. Doc and Jim, my boyfriend, they both know that I'm a calm person, but I'm an intense person. I'm a very intense person, but I know how to balance that out. Like if I feel like I said before, I understand what I can do to change that. Plus, I'm so in tune with my spiritual side that I'm able to use my meditation to also help me with my biochemistry, because that in turn relaxes certain symptoms that I have on a daily basis. So I guess in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. Doc, did you want to say anything that I forgot?
Oh, we could go on for a month on all of that. There's so many things that you forgot. Not even the things you went through were very intense. What should be recognized here is that your ability to add your spirituality helped the chemistry. Chemistry is just gives you a pathway and a choice. When you said, oh, what do I do now, when the chemistry was changed? That was because you wrote new things down in your own personality to make that effective. And you did it using your spiritual side, and you did it adding things you wanted to see, which made the difference overall in your recovery. And why you are a very forceful person, yes, but at the same token, you do have the sensitivity and you do have the belief in righteousness and in helping others. And that makes a big difference. Your anxiety level is nowhere near how bad it was. You tend to short sheet that, but you couldn't even get out of the house. And when you came to the house at 2 a.m. screaming with anxiety, banging on the door, kind of figured that, you really should tell them that.
Yeah,
And last but not least, your orange experiment to show how genetics can't be changed. You not only have MTHFR, you have CBS and CTH, which make it 10 times harder for you to handle both methylation and sulfur. That was the only thing I would add.
Yeah, there was there was one night Dr. Doolin's office is in he has a house, but he has his office downstairs. And I took it upon myself in a severe anxiety attack after seeing him probably 2 times. I was so out of control that I went to his upstairs at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, whatever it was, literally banging on his door, my doctor's door. I mean, I met the guy twice, and I was banging on his door, and he let me in, and of course brought me down to the office, and he sat with me and talked me off the ledge. So that was kind of cool. But, so that just sort of shows that that brotherly love started then, Tara. Hear more from doctors. Why don't we hear more from doctors about methylation? Well, you're hearing a little bit more of late because the MTHFR gene is kind of being thrown out there a lot, but doctors really, it's not their school of medicine, I guess you could say. So they look at so a doctor will look at blood tests and they'll see, okay, well, that's normal and that's not that's out of range, that's out of range, but that's normal. So doc will look at blood tests and he'll be like, when he looks at mine, or anybody else's, he looks at one piece of the blood test, and then he'll see something else and he'll make the correlation between those bloods, and then he'll add in the genetic piece. So doctors, he's a very interesting clinician, is that right? And like Dr. Doolin just typed in, chemistry is about the ebb and flow of metabolism, and the metabolism of a human is different all the time.
Never ending.
Yeah.
So if we have symptoms like the ones you described, which are very common, right? The fatigue,
Yeah.
anxiety, hyperventilating and all of that, we should maybe throw that out to our doctors, to the doctors we're going to, that maybe we should possibly explore, the possibility of methylation.
Yes. They'll probably look at just, that one gene, like we look at, when Doc and I are chit-chatting, you look at your bilirubin level, and that's sort of, it doesn't tell you what your methylation is, but it's sort of like a little cheat a little bit to give you a hint. And mine was at a 0.8 for years, and it's running lower now because of, I went into menopause at 36 years old. So hormones are another issue. But yeah, I mean, doctors, it's just, you can't sort of blame them because it's not their school. Doc is a very, very original human.
Functional medicine is attempting to do that. Dr. Hyman and the boys are definitely pushing in that direction, but they're not there because it's hard to match metabolics and disease states together without getting confused as to which one is the prevalent problem.
Mm-hmm. And when I first went to him, I was a total nut basket case of emotion. But I was so, like I said earlier, I became so dedicated to this, and I'm not a science person at all. And what I did was I was relentless with him. I would just be relentless, and I got so interested in biochemistry that's how we, after years and years and years and years of him treating me as a patient, we ended up becoming, very close friends, because he saw my interest and my ability to kind of understand and to relate it, and how, so that's, thank God I was that relentless with my personality, because
That's
I
why the
would
book
not.
came about.
Yeah, that's how the book came about too. But I'm able to literally, I'm able to understand what's going on in my chemistry or my daughter's chemistry, by just hearing symptoms, and I know what to eat. Like, I don't, people put, food on their plate and eat it. I eat according to how I feel, in a sense, like, and what I think I need, besides following, what I'm only allowed to eat. I'll I basically, I know I'll say, okay, so tonight I'm going to have tyrosine. I'm going to have tyrosine tonight because I'm not really thinking good tonight. So I'm going to have some pork, and then I'm going to have some. I'm a little over emotional, so you know what? I'm going to eat some asparagus because that's an aspartic. So or I'm really hyper right now, so I need to suck down some coconut milk ice cream because the serine cuts my sulfur. So that's basically how I eat. And I eat all day long. Like literally, I blow my boyfriend away when it comes to food. I'm constantly eating, but I have to, because I'm like, all right, like today at work, I was feeling a little non-thinky and, you know, my neck was hurting me. So I threw down some dark chocolate, which is a quick tyrosine. And yeah, like Doc said, my food is my medicine. Food is definitely my medicine. So does anyone have any questions real quick? I know I was supposed to stop a couple minutes ago, I guess, to get some Q&A, but does anyone have anything to ask or state? You're on mute, RG.
I so admire you. Like, I take so much discipline. It's, I guess, well, no. On one hand, you could say that, when you are really suffering from all of this and you find something that works, you have no other choice than to have that discipline, but that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always the case. And I don't know if I would or could have that. Right?
So, a bunch of my friends, have gone to Doc, for different reasons. And a bunch of my friends have stayed, a bunch of my friends haven't. And people who go, it's like, if you're in recovery, you go to AA, you go to NA, you have that dedication to going because you have to. You have no choice. I don't have that choice to eat any other way. If I went off my program, for a night and I had, some
The orange.
oh God, yeah. Well, that's different, but if I have like, a little bit of pasta, with a little bit of tomato sauce, I'll feel like garbage after that, and I just like Dr. Doolin just said, there was a time this year actually, where I needed to yes, Vicky, there is. We needed to raise my what the heck did we have to raise, Tara? I'm like
You
blank.
were you were busting my chops about getting
Oh,
some of the
right.
other foods, and you wanted something different, and you said something, and I said, let's try the least offensive. Let's try an orange.
And we were trying to boost up we wanted my bilirubin to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
So he gave me, well, a year before that, he gave me some fish, and I had a severe migraine for almost 2 weeks. That's another symptom, by the way, that I get, which I am on month 6 with my new program. I'm on month 6 without a migraine. Woo-hoo. So he gave me this orange, and it was like a whole big thing. I haven't had an orange in 30 years. It's like being locked up, and then all of a sudden, so I put it on my YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have this orange. And oh my God, it was the best thing ever. Oh God. And then like 3 days later, I was in excruciating, debilitating, agonizing, I can't even use another adjective, pain in my legs. And I can't take medication. He did let me take one Bayer once in a blue moon. But it was because that just fired my methylation chemistry so bad that it was, awful. So that's how sensitive my body is. Yeah. So that's I said I would tell you about the cover. So my friend, which way do I go? So my friend Carol Rasuti Jones, she drew the cover for us. Doc actually named the book. We were trying to come up with a name. He's like, "How about Methylation Madness?" I'm like, "That's awesome." So you could see here that the eyes are green, and they are my eyes. Carol drew my eyes, and my eyes are, I say they're brown. Dr. Doolin says that they're hazily, but they're more brown with a hazel. We've kind of, accepted the fact that they're brown with a hazel thing. But the green in the eyes show the sulfur. And then we put it coming out of my third eye, Ajna chakra, which is the eye of insight in meditation, my meditation world. And then we put the chemistry part of it coming out of that. So that's pretty cool. And we made the inside of the book green on the top, and the other stuff, which is the sulfur, and we made the other stuff orange because of the meditation part of me, because orange is kind of, you see monks walking around with orange and that. So that's that. Does anyone have any questions? Thoughts? Someone did ask Doc for your contact information. I can, where is it? Type it in the chat. Hold on. I never use Zoom. Here, chat. It's here, Dr. Terrence Doolin, 100 Conklin Street, Farmingdale. What is it? 516 293 5429. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I love trying to help and talk to people. Dr. Doolin and I are actually talking at the American Naturopathic Medical Association again in August, which is really, really, really important for us to do, because we get to talk to a lot of doctors, and they also get the personal side of it, so that's kind of neat that they get the whole gamut. They get the patient standing there, and they get the doctor, so that's always a really great thing, and we're so grateful to be able to do that, as I am to you, RG.
Thank you. Thank you to Dr. Dellin. Thank you, Michelle. Before we get to questions and a little bit more of a discussion, perhaps, I would like to announce the recipient of the Fall 2023 Artivist Award, which is sponsored by Sing for Hope, one of ARTIVISM's sponsors. The three members of the committee, Zubin Grog, Pamela Kohler, and Giancarlo Lopez, could not be here today. So I will read a statement by them. The committee, Zubin Grog, Pamela Kohler, and Giancarlo Lopez, would like to congratulate Brenda Perez, founder of Restorative Justice for the Arts, for being the recipient of the Fall 2023 Sing for Hope Artivism Award. Brenda's work on restoring and preserving murals from being whitewashed and preserved is not an easy feat, and hope that this recognition helps support and raise awareness on the great work and helps continue her work to preserve artwork and the rich background and history in Los Angeles, and helps the community in the long run. Congratulations, Brenda. Look forward to seeing the work you will do. We want to congratulate all of our artivists. They were all great. Carolina and I, could not do this. We would not do this, and we would want to give it to everyone. So it is given to an independent committee that reviews all the applications. They meet together. They come to a consensus. I'm just sorry, none of them were available to be here today, but congratulations, Brenda. Would you like to say a few words?
Look at Brenda. I'm emotional right now. Thank you so much. like I said, I'm usually attacked, not rewarded. So I'm really shocked and surprised. I'm very grateful. I am very passionate about what I do. I do it from my heart. I I love my community and I love art. And Artivism has been a very healing channel for me, a very healing you know uh a way of living. So I'm 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 so I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Brenda. Thank you to everyone who has presented at Artivism in the fall. And this season's we'll get an email, sometime soon about applying for the spring season 7 Artivist Award. Carolina, would you like to chime in?
Can you hear me?
Can you all hear Carolina? Yes,
Yeah.
Carolina, you're good.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. I'm having a little of a technical difficulty, but I'm happy you can still hear me. Congratulations to the recipients. Thank you to the committee for reviewing all the wonderful proposals from our presenters and coming to this conclusion that is not an easy one, like Professor Archie said. Also, thank you to our speaker today. Marvelous talk, especially from what I took from it is that sometimes is within our hope, right? What is causing our sickness. And what by that I mean that we go with such faith to our doctors, right? That they're going to really care for us. But yet, at least from my perspective, the system has changed so much that unfortunately the last on the totem is the actual human. Everything comes before, and this is a very generalization. I know there's still some physicians out there that care and go against that system, but please correct me. I know we have a doctor in the house that, in the last 2 decades or less than that, the system has strayed from its original purpose. And, this week begins the Nurses Week. For any nurses in the house, congratulations. And I hope you are some of those that continue to care from the heart for the patient.
I do have to just say one thing. There are phenomenal MDs around, like tremendous MDs around, where Dr. Doolin lies, it's a very different avenue, and he's the doctor that everybody goes to after they just can't get what they need. And it's, besides like the doctor who messed up with my liver and stuff, they do whatever they can do within their realm, you know what I mean? And then, then people drift over to Doolin because he just is a whole nother different piece of medicine. And then someone really quick asked if I could just quickly talk about using Buddhism against anxiety. I don't use Buddhism against anxiety. Annie, I follow Buddhism because it is it's more of a philosophy. It's a way of life to me. It's not a religion, and I'm a teacher and I teach, different religions at school, but the history of them. But Buddhism is really a philosophy. It's ending suffering by not wanting and not needing as much, and obviously I live it as best as I can, but I'm also human, but you have right intention, right mindfulness, and all the parts of the eightfold path. It's all how you look at your life. I look at my life, even in the most stressful times. I look at my life with tremendous gratitude, and I look at things with as much positivity as I can. I take myself as much as I can away from negative situations. and I live my life as much as I can to be one of service. But I just taught a class the other day on the 7 attitudes of mindfulness, and I said to them that you can be able to say, I am unable to be in this situation right now because it's not okay for me. Let me get back to you, because taking care of yourself emotionally is basically the only way that you'll be able to live your life in a mindful and positive manner. Like I was a very negative person for so many years. I was a very independent, very dependent person. I lived it with a very strong father, a loving father, but a very strong father. I lived it with all my anxiety because it made me have no self-esteem, very dependent. I couldn't walk without someone holding my hand, so to speak. And then I was in a relationship, for 15 years with someone who was exceedingly demonstrative verbally. And I've gotten to the point over the past, 8 years or so to really just embrace what we call Satnam, which is my true self. I'll never, ever not be true to myself, ever. So Buddhism is a way, it's kind of like my focus. And the meditation that I do, I first started getting into meditation because of my anxiety. That was my first experience was with meditation, was because of my anxiety. My first experience with Reiki was because of my anxiety. So my meditation practice will helps me keep focused, keep centered, keep my heart filled with love for myself and others. And it just makes me who I am. Like Jimmy will tell me, you're not easy, and I'm not an easy person, but I will literally do anything that I can to help somebody, but I will also 100% take care of myself. That's all I have.
Any questions? Any comments? I think there was much in the chat that you did already respond to.
Yeah, I
Carolina?
believe so. I'm pretty good at it after
Yes,
teaching
yes.
online for a year.
Carolina?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me again?
Yes, we hear you.
Right.
Yes, yes. And yes, of course. What I mean is more the system, the system, right? That is the one guiding the practice, unfortunately. But that's another conversation. Here in ARTIVISM, we always have the tradition of closing the events with a takeaway. So this one is for you, okay? What will be your key takeaway from your presentation today for an action item from our audience? In other words, that they can walk away with an action item from you.
An action item, you said?
An action
Like
item.
something that they could actually do?
From today. Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just do it together?
Oh, fine. Good. I like that.
So everybody put your hands together in prayer. Rubbing your hands together, feeling the heat within your hands, the beauty of what your body is able to create itself. Bringing your thumb tips to the chest, in between, closing your eyes gently. Taking a deep breath in, holding it at the top, releasing your body down, releasing, lowering your shoulders, bringing your hands down to your knees, palms up, facing up, so you receive the energy from yourself and from the universe above. The takeaway that anyone can ever have is to, like I said, Be true to yourself. Don't change who you are. Improve who you are through whatever means that you may. Allow yourself to love yourself, to reign on yourself. If you have emotions, recognize your feelings, acknowledge your feelings, investigate your feelings, and nurture your feelings. Feel yourself, feel your body with stress, and allow yourself to remove that stress with deep breathing and a true love and commitment to who you are as a person. Taking a deep breath in, imagining a beautiful light from above, embracing your entire body, flowing down your hands, flowing down your body, flowing down to your feet, flat on the floor, grounding yourself in, hooked in from the bottom to the top of the universe. Making that light a blue light of healing, a green light of healing, surrounding yourself with love of golden light and admiration for who you are. Namaste. My light glows to yours as yours glows to mine. Satnam. How's that, okay?
Beautiful. Carolina, would you like to close? Beautiful, Michelle. This was so beautiful.
Ah, good.
What a wonderful
glad.
way of closing our
Yeah.
season. And thank you for that light that you're setting to the war and for being here with us, sharing it and closing season 7 with us. And
I
we
try.
have the open call still available for all that would like to participate. That's for the poster design for the fall season coming up, season 8. Currently, there is an exhibition happening at the Performing Arts Center at Adelphi University. If you'd like to come check it out, it's investing your time in giving love by making objects, gifts instead of purchasing them. That's up. And then from there, it's going to rotate into the Offutt Gallery at Teachers College, Columbia University in New York City. We are very grateful for all of you for making this season such a marvelous experience. Thank you to Professor Arji and to our sponsors, Adelphi University, Sing for Hope, and Gottesman's Libraries Teachers College at Columbia University. Keep on spreading the love, and like we say here in ARTIVISM, also nurturing change for a more meaningful and dignified coexistence. Thank you, and wishing you all a wonderful summer.
Thank
Great
you.
summer, everyone. See you in the fall. Congratulations again to Brenda. We're looking forward to hearing what she'll be working on.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Have a great
Yes.
summer.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, RG. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you.
Luciano, thank you.
Bye.